I wanted to tell these guys what number they would be. I'm always jealous. Our Queen's counterparts know that they were the 138th president or something. And so I was trying to figure out the number, and it's really hard to find it. We have these big red binders up in the offices that have every end report of the president since like 1965. So I was skimming through some of our history, and it's interesting, so I thought I'd share a little bit with you. So it's hard to pinpoint where you start counting from. So in 1920, there's the first the Faculty Councils united to create the Student Administrative Assembly. This was the first united student government. It and the Hippocratic Council, which was all the medicine students located on a separate campus at the time, started what they called the University Students' Commission. And this was designed to sort of coordinate the two bodies. In 1944, that sort of coordination became sort of more leadership focused. And in 1947, the name changed to the University Students' Council. Then in 1965, we were incorporated. So that's nearly a century of student government here at Western. And as I sort of flip through some of these old, literally typed on a typewriter end reports, there are some trends that sort of emerged. Some common language, things that we still deal with today and have been dealing with forever. One is the idea of balancing service for students and advocating for students, and how difficult it can be to do both at the same time. And we still struggle with that. The need for teamwork and leadership amongst an executive team, that is usually the first section of every report, and it's interesting because I think that still is shown by this system here, the slate system with these guys up here. And also a strong commitment to their classmates and their constituents. That has been sort of with us throughout the whole thing. So, I guess I'm going to give a little bit of a corny line here, so stick with me. But I know I'm talking a bit too much about history, but that's because these six, over the next couple hours, the next couple of weeks, are going to be talking about the future. That was my corny line. So, I'll ask you to, before I go, to challenge the candidates tonight, but please respect them too. It's a challenge to work up the courage, stand on this stage, and I remember feeling jittery. I think I also feel jittery today, but that's probably a fever. But without much further ado, I'd like to introduce our candidates, Team Belman, Team Helfand, give it up. And I'd also like to introduce our moderator, the Speaker of Council, Andrew Molka. Have fun tonight, guys. I'll see you on Twitter.
All right, thank you. Okay, thank you very much for that lovely introduction, and great, we're going to be looking forward to the future and hopefully many more corny lines to come, maybe in this debate, if not, certainly in student government. So,
well done. Well done.
See, council actually has to put up with me on a monthly basis, so consider yourselves lucky. The format of the debate for this evening, we have a series of questions that have been submitted to us ahead of time. If at any time you have a question that you'd like to submit, please feel free to wander on over to our good friends, Pashman and Kojo over there. And they have a little cue card that you can write it on. They're going to vet it for me to make sure that there's nothing that violates our insurance liabilities, and then we can ask it up here. So, the candidates will all start with a 2-minute introduction of each of the slates, and then we'll first have the VP external debates. So, I'll be asking Amir to come up to ask the first question, and then candidates will have 1 minute to make a response, and then 30 seconds for the other side to make a response, and then each side will have another 30 seconds to reply to the response. Sounds a little confusing, but I promise you'll all get the hang of it within the first 5 minutes of the debate. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce the two slates, starting with Mr. Helfand.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here today. First, I'd like to introduce myself and my slate members. My name is Matt Helfand. Presently, I am a master's student in political science. I'm also a London Youth Advisory Council member. Last year, I served as the Social Science Student Council President, a member of the USC Finance Standing Committee, as well as a USC Council member and an USA delegate. To my right is Emily Addison. She is currently the Huron Student Council President. She is also a board member of CHRW. Yes, they have a board. And last year served as a Huron representative on the USC. To my left is Jen Carter. She is currently the King Student Council President. She's also a member of the city's Town and Gown Committee. Together, we're Team Helfand, and we are running in this election because we want to get you a better deal across the board. Throughout our platform, you will see three broad themes, three pillars that we would like to introduce and elaborate on throughout this debate. And the first is a financially responsible USC. This is a USC that not only respects, but reveres the financial contributions of our students. We also are advocating for a USC that is making students' lives easier from top to bottom. We have a comprehensive program on how that is going to happen. And lastly, a USC that focuses on municipal advocacy, where we do not have an organization that we pay to do advocacy, where we are only here to protect ourselves and represent our own interests within the city. Once again, I'd like to thank you all for coming out here to listen to what is going to be an honest conversation about where the USC is now and where it needs to go into the future. After the debate, we will be hanging around to answer any questions you may have, or you can follow us on Twitter at teamhelfand.com. Team Helfand, hashtag Team Helfand. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Belman, please.
Hi everybody, thanks for coming out. I just want to say we are so excited to be here. I'm excited to get this campaign started. It's day 2. We are Team Belman. I'm Brian. To my right, your left is Steven Wright, and to my left and your right is Alex Manak. Myself, I've been involved with the USC for a few years now. I'm in my 4th year taking psychology, and when I was in my 2nd year, I was a social science counselor. Last year, I was the Provincial Affairs Commissioner and the Government Issues Management Intern, and this year, I'm the Associate Vice President External. My slate, actually, I'll let them introduce themselves. Here's Steve.
Hi guys, my name's Steven Wright. We're all excited to be here. I got into USC, firstly, just this year. I've been the chair of the Provincial and Federal Affairs Standing Committee. I bring a diverse experience to the USC in my resident staff experience. I'm super excited to be here and really looking forward to getting this debate going. And I guess we'll hand it off to Alex at this point.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex. I'm in my 3rd year of MTP, which is Media Theory and Production in the Faculty of Information and Media Studies. I currently serve as Pride Western Coordinator in the internal portfolio, and I'm a proud off-campus soph. I know Brian and Steve said they're really excited, but I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited to start talking about the issues that face students today, and we're going to do it honestly and as open and fair as possible. So thanks for coming out.
Okay, thank
Mr.
you.
Speaker, I got a point of personal privilege. Is there anything that we can do about the echo? I'm having a bit of a hard time hearing our
That's an excellent question to our friends over in IT.
Thank you very much.
All right, fantastic. So while we work on that, I'm going to keep talking so they have a bit of a reference point. So it's really dangerous to put me in front of an open mic, but I'm going to make a quick admission. I don't see well under normal circumstances, and when you combine this sort of bright light and the low lighting, and then this watch, which is almost certainly an illegal knockoff, I really can't tell how long the candidates are speaking for. So I'm actually going to request a bit of help from our friends here in the good seats at the front row. It's like first class on plane. They get on first, so you have to watch them as you walk past them to your crappy seat at the back. But I'm going to ask the people here associated with the Helfand campaign to keep timing for the responses from the Belman group, and those here that are here from with Mr. Belman's group to keep time for the Helfand campaign. So, all right. So we have some quality control on the other side, because you know the USC is all about consistency. So, just for reference, I'm going to ask for one hand signal, 30 seconds, because it's 1 minute responses. At 30 seconds, this is pretty standard in hand signal. You start like this, and you count it on down like that. Are we clear? Up, not watching. Up here. Oh, the computers. Okay. So, hand signal for 30 seconds. We got it? Counting down. There we go.
I'm not feeling confident.
Okay, I was going to say, if you don't stop them, then they're just going to keep going. So,
That's all right.
ball's in your court. All right, at this point, I'd like to say that we're going to move on to the external debate. So the other candidates can choose to stay to pass notes like people in elementary school, or they can choose to get up and walk around because it's good for your lymphatic system. Health side. But I would call the current Vice President External, Amir Eftekhar, to ask the first question.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It really is a joy to hear you in front of a mic once a month, so it's great to do it twice a month. Before I ask my question, I really do want to extend a sincere congratulations to Jen and Steven. Taking this lead is a very difficult one. When I did it last year, I think sitting in that seat last year, it is a large rush of emotions, of energy, of ideas, of passion. And I think we can really, really thank these candidates in advance for the passion and pure physical energy that they're going to be putting into this campaign for the next couple of weeks. And I think as a campus community, we will learn with them and from them about the things they say. And so I'm really, really excited to get this going with the first question. So when given this opportunity to ask the first question, I figured maybe I'll just sort of give a softball question, like what's your main advocacy point, or what color of shirt are you currently wearing? But I thought, let's take this opportunity. I'm going to ask you guys a question on an interesting topic that you've both been discussing, and hopefully we can get some discussion going. So I've noted that during this election, and the time running up to it, both of you have discussed the role of the USA presidency. The USA presidency is the role that gives one student a leader, usually the vice president, from a member of USA. Actually, I should probably explain what USA is first. USA is the Ontario Undergraduate Student Alliance, which is our provincial advocacy organization. And one member is elected from the board of directors, which whoever wins will sit on as the Western representative, to serve as the president of that group. Now, both candidates have discussed the role of the president of the Ontario Undergraduate Student Alliance in its election, which is actually a first, but it's not really something that comes up during a general election. So, given that, I really wanted to discuss. Steve, you have indicated that if elected, you would definitely seek the presidency, or look to seek the presidency. And Jen, your platform discusses potentially redefining the terms of reference of the VP to maybe prioritize the role a little bit less in your year and in years to come. Now, from my experience, I believe the role of the presidency, the role of a CASA board member, the role of a city advisory committee member, those are mediums or a tactic to reach an outcome or achieve a goal, not necessarily an issue themselves. So with that assumption, if you'll go with me, I wanted to ask you guys a question. Does your position on either running for or prioritizing the presidency less, do you think that will meet the needs or reflect the needs or goals of Western students in the short term? And then a second part of the question is, do you think there is a time in the future when you think that the other person's position is actually correct? So one, a short-term question. For next year, do you think your position will meet the needs of Western students? And in the long term, do you think that there's a time when the other person is correct? Thank you. I don't actually know how to do any of this, so Volka, where are you?
All right, so we're going to go first with Mr. Wright, your response, and you have 60 seconds. But before you go, Helfand team, are you ready to time? All right, whenever you're ready.
The role of USA president can only be sought out through council. It is a council decision first, and I just want to be clear. And if I were to go on to being the USA president, that it would be a council decision first. I think USA is one of the best organizations we have that we interact with the USC, and having the vice president external as that president is really important to getting a lot of our advocacy points across. A lot of the stuff that we've done and that we've got accomplished would not be possible without LUSA. So looking in the short term, I think it's important because we've got a lot of advocacy points that are on the precipice, that are really looking to get accomplished in the short term. So we really want to get those done. We really want to make sure that Western is a thought leader at USA. And looking into the long term, it's kind of hard to comment on, given that other schools may be in a better position in the future to pursue the USA presidency. But I think as far as in the short term right now, it's really important that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Addison, would you like to respond?
Ms. Carter.
Oh wow, well, I'm doing very well this evening. Ms. Carter.
I would love to respond. So first and foremost, obviously, the external position is a lot about long-term advocacy, and USA does work for the students. In terms of my position on whether or not the Vice President External should run for USA President, I think the first thing that we need to focus on right now is this campaign. And I really want to take the time during this campaign to talk to each and every one of you and figure out what your specific issues are. If I were to be elected for this role, I want to make sure that no matter what, we're taking student issues to USA, and that we actually have the conversation with students about what they need. The point is that...
Sorry, that was the 30-second response. Okay. Sorry, I've clearly sort of miscommunicated the way this might work.
You just make it clear whether like we're rebutting their
Yes, so
opponent
the
or
30
whether
seconds,
we're...
yeah, it's a
Okay.
rebuttal. Okay, so Mr. Wright, did you want to speak back to that?
If it is procedure to do so, I shall.